Good morning. Welcome to Morning Moments. I am so glad that you came and joined us this morning. Today, I have another actor, and he has been in movies that you may have seen, and we'll talk about some of those. Have them down below later. But John Goad, I'm so glad to be able to have you with us today.
Glad to be here.
Uh, Tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do, and why do you do it?
Well, let's see what I do and who I am. Let's see. First of all, I am first and foremost a God-fearing man, father of 8 kids. I have a lot. Yeah, I see that expression. That's usually what I get. I am a full-time dad, full-time, and part-time taxi driver, I guess, part-time chef. Anyway, my profession, I guess, is I'm an actor and I'm an actor coach, and I solely deal with faith-based film now.
You tell the story. Is that what you work on?
Actually, so being an actor coach, I try to get my students to not just tell the story, but to be the story. Let the storytelling, let the writers do the storytelling, and let the actors be the story beers. That we actually become the story instead of just tell a story. Yes, we are in a media where it is show and tell, but I really firmly believe that we should only be telling if we have to.
I believe it was Acts where when Jesus said he wants us to be a witness. He didn't say for us to witness, although we can witness. I mean, there's nothing wrong with talking about Christ.
Exactly. Right.
But he asked us to actually be a witness.
Correct.
And I think that's the same way what you're trying to say is you be the story.
Right. Yeah. You'll be known as my disciples because of the way you love, not because of you telling about me, etc., but by what you are doing and how are you behaving, how are you acting, how are you living your life. That is how we will know.
Yeah, I think there's a saying that share the gospel and if necessary, use words.
Absolutely right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Because there's people watching you all the time. With being a father of 8, I got 8 grandchildren, by the way. So when you said 8, I thought, wow, I got 2 kids and 8 grandchildren. But you got 8 grandkids, 8 kids. No telling how many grandkids.
Yeah, you can send yours back. Yeah,
that's exactly right. You're stuck with your 8 kids. But when you're around these kids, the influence that you have in children, you just don't know, and because they're watching you,
right?
And that's what that storytelling by your actions is like with acting too, because they're watching your actions, not just your words you're saying.
Right.
So that's hard to get into that character, isn't it? Sometimes.
Yes and no. I mean, the greatest character study is Jesus Christ, and if you wanted to do a character study, that's the one to emulate. And getting into characters and roles, actually, I find it pretty. I have a process, I guess, and I find it pretty simple now. I wish I knew then 30 something years ago what I know now. But my process is actually pretty simple. It is the role playing and the making memories as the character, etc. So like I said, my process is a little bit simpler than probably most, and it's effective. So
good. What big lessons have you learned in the process of being an actor, or maybe even doing the things that you do?
So one of my specialties when I teach is about emotion, and there's a psychological paradox that being vulnerable is actually courageous. And one of the biggest fears of most people, not just actors, is that exposure, that vulnerable state that they get in, and they want to hide behind mental mental blocks or behavioral, like a lot of people use humor as a way to avoid conflict or etc. But the fact that being vulnerable is actually courageous and freeing is I guess one of the biggest things, that there's so much reward on the other side of actually going through the pain of the character, going through that pain and going through the solution to the pain, and exposing all that for your audience. That is freeing. That is that's the most courageous thing an actor can do, is to be vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah. The higher the risk, the higher the reward, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, God asks us to do that. He asks us to stretch ourselves and put ourselves out there. And I think one of the things that has drawn people to Christ more than anything else is when people are real and say, "This is what God has done to me," and
Right.
it's hard to argue somebody's testimony, isn't it?
Right. He tells Joshua, he says, be courageous. Actually, I think there's one small section of verses in Joshua that he says, be courageous, be courageous, be courageous, like 5 or 6 times in like 5 or 6 verses. He never says, don't be afraid. He says,
No.
be courageous. And he assures him that he'll be with him the whole way. If you do as I say, these are the rewards. These are this is the fruit of what you can expect when you understand that I am your rear guard. I go before you. I am. This is where I want you to step. And when you are courageous in that and rest, then you know that he that you will be rewarded.
You know, quite often when I listen to interviews, I think, well, how can we look at this for not just a person who's an actor, but everybody involved? What lessons can be learned? And when I hear what you're saying, I think of quite often God has called each and every one of us to do things, and fear grips us from doing His call or doing
Right.
what He says. That step of courage, there takes great courage to expose your emotions on camera.
Yeah.
It takes great courage, and I did stand-up comedy for a while. It takes great courage to stand up and
I'll
tell
bet.
jokes. It takes great courage to do these things, but it takes great courage sometimes just to do the right thing for people.
Correct. Yeah.
And also in front of those who are watching you.
Right. Yeah. Look at Noah. The world was, in fact, I think just before the story of Noah, it says that the entire world, God grieved that He even created man, except for one.
Yeah.
That in the light of all of this evil in the world, there was one man that had the courage to still worship, confess, and be righteous because he walked with God. One man.
Yeah.
And because of that, he was rewarded. That probably took more courage than any of us will ever experience, because the entire world, likely even his sons, were against him 100%.
You know, when we share from our heart what God's done for us, there will be folks who don't like it, and there will be folks who don't care for what we have to say. But the risk involved of being courageous with the message of Christ, be it through acting or be it through just talking on the other side of the fence to your neighbor, is that we're reaching one person at a time.
Right.
I know often in this day and age that a lot of folks go, I want to reach thousands of people. And I talk to singers and actors, and I you know, and how many people, how many likes did I get, and how many views did I got? I get convicted all the time. From internally from the Holy Spirit convicting me, saying, just today and today only, just reach one person.
Just one step at a time. Right.
One.
And that is my primary ministry. Here's my family.
Yeah.
Like you said, I continue to just pour into them as much as I can and live the example as much as I can. I ain't perfect, but hey, who is? Except for the one.
And they crucified him, so that tells you something.
Exactly. Look at I got him. But yeah, through media, I do hope to reach millions. But in all honesty, that one is absolutely worth it, because it says the entire host of heaven rejoices when one comes. So that is, that's my goal, is to be the light and salt to at least one.
Yeah.
At least
one.
Sure. I could, I'm hoping for millions.
Yeah.
Sure. But do I check my my likes? And actually, I'm sure before the interview, you probably try to find out more about me, and found that my social media, I don't really do a whole lot of self-publicizing. That I try to let other people tell about me, as far as what I can do, what I've done for them, etc. And I don't really try to pat my own back. So
I got to tell my audience, I don't have to, but I'm going to. John goes, why, when I was talking about the interview, goes, why me? I said, well, you got a story to tell. What? I says, you got a story to tell. I know it, And so often people don't realize that we have a story to tell, and there is someone who needs to hear it. And just being in the right place at the right time to let God use you, and to be courageous during that time. And
there you go.
God's got a gift, a plan, a future for all of us.
Yeah. Daily, I'm asking, okay, God, what next? Where do I go next? And I'm constantly just listening and trying to figure out where my next divine appointment is, honestly. So and being open for it. My yes is on the table, as I like to say, so that when the opportunity comes, I'm available.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. One of the actors I interviewed, I think Stephen Lewis, I think it was, he said, I obey God for a living. I go, boy, I love that. I love that. I obey God for a living. And that's just what we should do, is just say, just going to obey you wherever it takes me, whatever you're going to do.
Right.
Obey you. Well, John, it has been a pleasure to be able to find out about you, find out. I'm going to put down below, you're going to see the film credits and what films he's been in, and you could even watch to see what God's got for him in the future. But after you look at all that, I think more important than anything else, if you would, my audience, do something for me, take a moment and pray for John and his entire family, that God would continue to bless him, continue to use him in any way that God seems fit for his kingdom purposes. Thank you, John, so much for joining us for Morning Moments.
Thank you, Andy. It's been a pleasure.
All right. And thank you for joining us in Morning Moments. And some of you needed to hear this, and some of you need to pass this on to somebody else to hear. And if you would do that, God would richly bless you, and keep coming back for more Morning Moments.